So I feel equally about the film how I feel about snow mountains.
Yeah. Why do?
Why we do. But yeah, I have stuff too. Might talk about it.
Sure, if you want to.
Yeah. So in our facts section today, we are going to talk about avalanches. You know, like, why are they? What do they do? What is it? And an avalanche are masses of snow, ice, and rocks that fall rapidly down a mountainside. They can be deadly. I feel like that goes without saying, but it is from National Geographic about avalanches. What do you do in the case of an avalanche? I think we really just don't see a good representation of this in the film. But, you know, if you are in snow murder land, what do? And this is brought to you by Travel and Leisure's article, What Do You Do If You're Caught in a Path of an Avalanche, written by Elizabeth Presque. It comes with 6 easy steps that you can follow to avoid snow murder. I've added my own thoughts to this list for your safety and enjoyment, which it's basically saying the same thing the person did, but I made it more fun.
Okay.
On number 1 on the list, we have move to the side. You cannot outrun snow murder. Instead of insulting Mother Nature by trying to beat in a race, you should instead run perpendicularly to the path of the incoming snow to get out of the way.
I will definitely be thinking of that while running from snow.
I mean, for real, I made the...
It's like when there's like a gun, like when you're good at, like, or like the bow and arrow in Game of Thrones when he was just running it straight, and it was like, you got to run in a zigzag. But it's like no one's actually thinking that when you're running from a bow and arrow or guns.
Yeah. No, it's fair. It's fair. I'm trying to make them funny so that in the instance that you are in this situation for whatever reason, like if you dare to go on a mountain where snow is for whatever thing that possessed you, that you know what to do, you know, just for safety. Number 2. Grab something sturdy. A twist on the classic rock, paper, scissors comes avalanche, boulder, tree. Only one will win.
Oh, geez.
Depending on the strength of the avalanche, boulders or trees might be strong enough to stand their ground. Holding on to one of these might keep you above the snow and also keep you from moving down the mountain. So that was not what the article said, but I was very proud of it. So you're welcome. In cases of avalanche happening, play avalanche, boulder, tree, and it can save your life. Number 3, swim. I thought that was cool because it's like snow is frozen waters. Yeah, you know, it's frozen water, so it's kind of like swimming. Try to mimic the snow's violent onslaught by thrashing violently yourself to stay on top of the snow. Staying on top will keep you from being buried under mounds of snow and debris, which just seems like a really smart plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to be buried underneath. There's a whole oxygen related thing that's associated with that. You can asphyxiate yourself. A lot of people die that way, which is sad. Yes. So number 4, hold one arm up. You should try to reach one arm up while you're going down the mountain if you can, so that if you get buried, you give your rescue team a literal hand in helping find you. Yeah, you get it. Yeah, that was actually from the article. So
yeah, that's a good one. I get it, because then you're like out and you're like, you got a little hand there, and they're like, that's a human.
You're helping survive. You're helping yourself by helping other people find you. Number 5, create room to breathe. Most avalanche-related fatalities, as I said before, are caused by asphyxiation. So if you're caught in an avalanche, it says try to cup your hands over your mouth while you're still moving, so that you can create a small pocket of air that will last you about 30 minutes. That's how long you kind of have like a window. It also suggests kind of making space around your face so that if you're like you're under the snow, essentially it gives you a bigger pocket of air to survive on and kind of extend your time before you would start experiencing carbon monoxide poisoning from your own breath. Number 6 is stay calm. It seems silly, but you might reasonably panic if you're in this situation. But it notes that if you panic, your breath will quicken. It'll make your time and your window for survival shrink. And I added an additional number 7. Don't go there. Don't go Snowy Mountain. Why do you need, what are you trying to prove to the world and Mother Nature by testing it in this way?
Yeah, why you gotta be up there?
Yeah, like, unless you live there, that's different. But, like, go for fun? No. It's not fun. You dislocate your knee, you break your ankle.
You suffocate.
Why? Yeah, suffocate. Like, you could really hurt yourself. And as in game sections, she said 90% of avalanches are caused by people.
Yeah, just being stupid up there.
So, like, do yourself a favor. Do the mountain a favor. Just don't go. Let them, new mountain, new me moment themselves, like without you. Just do that instead.
Give them space.
Yeah. And avalanches, why are they so terrifying? I think it goes without saying, honestly. But much like tsunamis, avalanches are scary in their suddenness, an unexpected and deadly way that nature can attack you. They can be easily avoided, though, just by not going to snow places.
Yeah.
Can't stress that enough. I really think that's like the key that people are missing in these scenarios.
I mean, you're not wrong in that there would be 0 deaths by avalanche if no one is where avalanche happens.
Yeah.
That's just
I feel the same exact way about the ocean, by the way. And I will never live coastally. I did it once because my mom forced me to by moving somewhere that was on the coast. And Hurricane Sandy immediately. It's a sign. Like, it's very much like you don't belong here. And she wanted to stay. Like, our whole house flooded. We had to like walk through the water. I was terrified sharks would happen. It's just like, why? Just don't live in these places. But that's not an option. That's literally not an option for some people.
Yeah, not everyone can live in your house.
Yeah, and also, like, it's very much like the real estate is intentionally priced to trap people, which is really messed up. So I do not mean to be insensitive if, like, people do live in these areas and cannot help it. But if you don't and you go for fun, that's silly. Don't do that. That's a choice. That's different.
Don't go and investigate the mysterious deaths of 9 students and go to the same place and experience
like, unless you got it. And the answer is you don't got it. Like,
you don't have to.
But what happened in the Dyatlov Pass incident? Like, why are we talking about it? What happened during it? It actually was apparently solved. I put solved in quotes because no one actually survived the incident, so there's no way to know for certain what happened. But this is science's best guess. I think the Smithsonian Magazine's article have scientists finally unraveled the 60-year mystery surrounding 9 Russian hikers' deaths, written by Milan Sali for the information that I will be sharing. The article argues that there's a perfectly good non-conspiracy theory explanation for the incident that we can apparently thank the other Frozen film for, the Disney one with Elsa and Anna.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, it generally is. So cool. As well as 2 individuals named Johann Gaume and Alexander Huserin. They state plainly that they do not claim to have solved this mystery, as no one survived to tell the story. But we are able to show plausibly of avalanche hypothesis for the first time through science. Like, we're able to kind of get it. So in the research that unfolded, National Geographic researchers, Gaume and Persson, used the animation code from the snow for the 2013 Disney film Frozen to create a simulation tool that could mimic the conditions from the incident. This data matched with the data from the cadaver tests conducted by General Motors in the 1970s, helped determine what happened to the human body, which struck at different speeds, allowed for them to like kind of figure out how this avalanche in the specific scenario could cause the injuries that were shown in the incident. So the broken ribs, the, severe, like, kind of internal situation that was happening.
This is not the crossover that I ever thought would happen with GM and Disney's Frozen. Like, I never thought that we would have them to thank
for the solving of this incident, right? It's definitely
so
wild.
Cool. Yeah.
So the authors of the study, Golem in prison, used historical records to recreate the mountain's environment on the night of the Dyatlov incident and attempted to address the seeming inconsistencies. Then scientists write in the study, they simulated a slab avalanche, drawing on snow friction data and local topography, which revealed that the slope wasn't actually as shallow as it had seemed when they were first doing their research, to prove that a small snowslide could have swept through the area while leaving few traces behind. The authors theorized that katabatic, which is a fun word, winds, were fast-flowing tunnels of air propelled the force of gravity, transporting the snow down the mountain to the campsite. And essentially, they're arguing that because they cut into the slope to put their tent down, which there's actually like a cool image on the website if you feel interested, but they made a cut in the slope. Nothing would have happened if they didn't make that cut, essentially. But at a certain point, a crack could have formed and propagated, causing the snow slab to release. And if you're thinking like this snow is frozen, you know what I mean? Like hard. It's not just like light, fluffy, fun snowball time. It is like frozen snow ice time. It kind of showed that the heavy blocks of solid snow could have landed on the hikers as they slept, crushing their bones and causing injuries not typically associated with avalanches. If this was the case, the pair argues that those who had sustained less serious blows likely dragged their injured companions out of the tent in hopes of saving their lives. It's like, it's super sad. But it's interesting because it kind of offers some resolution to the situation, since it was so strange. People were very like scared by it and concerned and did not understand what had happened. And it's especially scary for the folks who like think it was the government, you know, that the government would do that to people. Like, that's horrifying. You do not want your government to be doing that. You want to be safe. They're supposed to take care of you if you live there. So
it's also not
arguably
super far from like what like is reasonable to assume from your government too, especially that government of that time. Like, it was totally reasonable to be like, they did something wrong.
Yeah. So there are skeptics of this theory, questioning like why the hikers would run into the snow without their clothes. But I honestly think if the snow landed on them while they were sleeping, why would they be fully in their hiking gear and their snow gear? Like, if they were, or even just like getting ready for dinner, they would be in more casual clothes if it's warm inside their tent. So like, I think it's reasonable to assume they wouldn't be in their full hiking gear if a giant slab of snow landed on their tent and was crushing them. Like, you don't have time to put on your shoes in that situation. So I don't know. I think it makes sense. Obviously, I'm not a scientist. I've said that on multiple episodes, but it seems pretty legit.
Well, and they also show that in the film too, because the one girl is like, they're having sex in the tent, or about to again.
Yeah.
And like, she doesn't get her clothes on. She was running in her underwear, and he had clothes on somehow. But it was like, because it was just happening, and it just took the amount of time for someone to be like, avalanche, for them to move.
Yeah. And people aren't able to get dressed that fast all the time. Like, you know, if you're butt naked, it's going to take a minute to get your layers, your shoes, your everything back onto your body. So I think it's reasonable. I think this is probably legit. It's science's best guess. I think it's funny that they claim it's solved in the title, but like, that the people were like, no, we think. There's no way to know, but this is
the closest to an answer that we can ever get, because we were not there.
Yeah.
We don't have footage or time travel.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting. I think, obviously, this is a horrible situation that happened, and it's cool to have some variety of closure that wasn't from the worst ever film students that were in this film. That was not the weird science. Like, that was not science. It was like a weird sci-fi time travel twist where you have the descent monsters, but they it was really strange. And it was honestly like very disrespectful to the incident itself.
Yeah, the whole
in that, like,
was.
Yeah, it was totally just like using the knowledge of the incident to like boost their film rating, like to get people to go see it thinking that it is having to do with that, and it's not. So it's rude.
Yeah, especially because like it was such a well-known theory, and I mean I enjoyed that they do in the beginning throw out some of those, but it was very obvious that the characters and then by extension the creators of this film were obnoxious and not actually caring about them. Like it like even the main character with her like being like, I had dreams that I was going to find it and like I'm destined for this. It was never really like I'm destined to figure out what happened to those poor individuals. It was like I was destined to be the one who figures this mystery out.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's super rude and is also like, you know, some of the motivation for a lot of true crime anyway.
Yeah. And I mean, it's if they were trying to show how disrespectful Americans can be in traveling,
they got it.
Like that's a horror movie in and of itself.
Yeah.
And they achieved that. But if they were trying to like pay respects to the people who were lost in this incident, they 100% could have just had Russian people who were from Russia, like, and were interested in what happened to people who were like from their country that died, and like paid adequate respect to it and tried to uncover an actual mystery. That I would have watched that. That would have been cool. Like,
yeah,
probably
and there
more
was a lot of
interesting.
people, like a lot of the information that came out came from people who were closely related. So like there was a gentleman who was a part of the expedition, but got hurt early on and ended up having to turn back. And so he reported on some things and actually wrote a book. There was someone who was young and attended the funeral of the students when they were really young, and then later in like their adult age wrote books on it. And I think that was the one who wrote about like aliens. But what it is to say is that like there's an interest in that country, and there are people who are actually directly related to the people who are harmed that could have a more understandable and like accepting obsession with it. Like imagine if that was like, oh, that was my aunt who perished and I want to know what happened to her, or like and I went to school to do the same thing that they did and I'm going to recreate it to get to the bottom, because like mysterious deaths like that do traumatize and affect families, and there's an obsession that happens that we definitely see and could have totally reasonably put that through. And like also an understanding of like it was also very rude to Russia, because like there's so many like Cold War like digs that they say, like the Americans clearly don't have any respect for the people there and don't see them as people. Like they just see them as tools. Like there's a woman who's like bearing her heart about what she experienced, and they didn't care. They were just like, oh, this is like good. Oh, it's spooky. I'm spooked. Instead of being like, oh, this woman's traumatized because she saw real actual dead bodies.
And they took it as an opportunity to just zoom in on this chick who's like doing the sound for it. It was super gross.
Because she's hot. Yeah.
And it's, if you think about the fact that there's actually the person who came back and wrote a book, they put him in a mental hospital in the movie. Yeah. Which is rude if that's not true. Like, yeah, they're basically
they
like
conspiracy theories and stuff. And the fact that like, I mean, that they made it so that the people who worked at the sanitarium were also villains, because like, you're keeping the truth from us. It's like, no, they're probably trying to take care of that person who is like clearly needs help, and you're just traipsing in here and you think you deserve answers for something.
You're trying to like take advantage of the mental state that is in play. Like that's really rude.
The only good thing for that is that they didn't actually talk to him, because that happens
because they would have been a horrible job. Yeah, they would have been so rude.
So often in horror, they're like, you have to tell us what it is. We're going to force you to relive this traumatic event that you are institutionalized for, because we need the answers. And that happens all the time in horror. So I'm happy that they just got a message that said, don't go. Instead, that she has like photographic memory for and can spell out in the snow. Yeah. That's to say that avalanches are scary.
Yeah.
And if it happens, most likely it's your fault or your friend's fault or whoever is there with you. Don't go traipsing around crime scenes for no good reason.
Don't yell when you're in the snow.
Yeah, don't yell in the snow, and don't watch this movie if you can help it. Don't watch it.
We watched genuinely
it, so you
horrible.
don't have to. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad, and I love found footage. If you want a good found footage film, hit me up. I got it. Yeah. I got you.
But it wasn't this.
At length, I can any sub genre that you want experienced. I got you. But maybe we'll have to do some screening parties to watch like the one where the sharks were in the grocery store and the fire breathing spiders and
100%
avalanche sharks. So we could just I want that, and I really want to watch the film where the sand eats you.
We should have a series where we watch a bunch of different like ridiculous shark or spider films, even though I would cry the entire time. But I feel like that'd just be really funny. And then also the one where the sand eats you, the one where the sushi eats you.
Yeah. Those are good.
The couch murder, murderous couch.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good.
Now, the hair, bad hair.
Yeah.
We watched that.
Classics.
With sharks, I just think of Deep Blue Sea, and it's such a good film. It's so scary. It's so good. Black guys survived. It's a phenomenal film. It's 10 stars.
I don't know if I've seen it.
You would never see it. That's good. It's under the water. Has to do with sharks.
Okay. Yep. You're right.
It's so good. It's so good.
Like my nightmare.
But that's not a weird one because it makes sense because the ocean is where the sharks are. So it was just that people were in a place that sharks usually
I do think it would be fun if we did that where we had like remember how in the movie we first started, we had reactions of us watching the films.
Yeah.
We watch a bunch of films that horrify me, and then we watch a bunch of films that horrify you, and
we should do like reaction videos.
The evidence. Yeah.
We should do. I think if you want to see reaction videos of the Ghouls, let us know and we'll do it.
Yeah.
Because we get scared. We still do actually get scared. Genuinely. So,
but like we know we'll get scared of those. So it's like, it'd be fun.
Yeah, it would be fun. So, don't get married.
They'll eat your kids.
Yeah. Or your kids will go where they shouldn't.
Be the worst.
Don't do it. Yeah. Maybe they deserved it. Don't go where you shouldn't be. All right. Bye.
Bye.